So my last video was a video concerning seeking God and finding Him if we do it with all our heart, our soul, and our mind. And we do that by keeping His commandments, as David told us to do so. Let me not wander from thy commandments. I seek thee with all my heart. But with that said, it caused me to remember King Asa's decree that was given in 2 Chronicles chapter 15 and how relevant that story is for today. If this decree, if this message was given in today's time, how would the world respond to it today? The story begins by God stirring up the spirit of a prophet, Azariah, the son of Obed, and he comes out to meet King Asa and he gives him a message. The message is, just like I did in my previous video, that if we seek YehoVah our God, He will be found of us. If we seek with all our heart, our soul, and our mind. But if we forsake Him, then He will forsake us. You see, it's always our choice. It's always up to us. If we keep His commandments and His laws, then we have sought Him with all our heart, our soul, and our mind. But if we forsake Him in disobeying those commandments, then He'll forsake us. We are in control of this relationship. He is always at the door saying, come to me, but we have to answer the call. So I want you to look at the message that Azariah gave the people in that day.
2 Chronicles 15 verse 3, Now for a long season Israel had been without the true God, and without a teaching priest, and without law. When they in their trouble did turn unto YehoVah, God of Israel, and sought Him, He was found of them. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, nor to him that came in, but great vexations were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. And nation was destroyed of a nation, of city, for God did vex them all with adversity.
Now, how relevant is that message for today? Extremely relevant. We've been without God's laws. We've been without the true God. We've been without a teaching priest of these laws in our societies for many, many years now. Our churches have decided to cast away God's laws. And if we had a prophet come in here today and tell the people this message, we wouldn't respond very well to him. I know that for a fact because I've given this message to people and they don't respond well to it, but they will. The problem is we don't seek God until trouble arises. And when the time of Jacob's trouble is here, we will be seeking Him with all our heart, our soul, and our mind. But because of the lies and the things that we've been taught, it's going to be very hard for many to be able to take this kind of message and not see it as something false that they have been taught is. See, we have turned the world upside down. We have said that God's laws are no longer, so that if anybody comes and tells a person to obey God, that person now is seen as a false prophet, rather than the one that says to disobey God's laws is the one that's a false prophet, as God said to look for. We've completely turned things upside down. Now, you probably noticed some verbiage there. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Yeah, this is exactly the things that Jesus spoke of in Matthew 24. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There should be famines and pestilences. These are the beginning of sorrows. So he is echoing the same things of this passage in 2 Chronicles chapter 15 and Asa's decree. Now, the reason that there was no peace in King Asa's days is that the people were worshiping idols. They had forsaken God's commandments. They had set up groves, Asherah trees at the time. Asherah trees and groves were used in those times for pagan practices. This is why God always commands the people not to use trees near His altar, because trees were used in pagan worship. So when King Asa heard this decree, what did he do? He told all the people to put away all the idols, get rid of all the trees, and then what he did was he rededicated the altar back to God. How relevant is this story considering that we're in the middle of Hanukkah right now? Hanukkah is the feast that represents the rededication of the temple back to God and forsaking all idolatry and all pagan practices that we see today, such as Christmas itself. Now, notice King Asa's decree that he gave to the people that time under his own reign.
Verse 12, And they entered into a covenant to seek YehoVah, God of their fathers, with all their heart and with all their soul, that whosoever would not seek YehoVah, God of Israel, would be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman.
Now, can you imagine if the Messiah came today and told the people to seek Him with all their heart, their soul, and their mind, and to walk in God's judgments and His statutes and His commandments once again, and the penalty was death? How many people today would choose death rather than to obey the God of Israel? Do we not see how backwards this is? And it's because of the false prophets who teach against this law that they will think the wrong thing if this were to ever occur. There's all these false doctrines that you have to get through. King Asa himself at this time took his own mother's Asherah tree and burned it, chopped it down. Now, if you saw a person today go and burn down or chop down a Christmas tree in your home, if you celebrated Christmas, how would you react to that today? You would think the person doing so is a false prophet. See what Asa says about his mother's pagan groves that she had set up in the land.
Verse 15, and all Judah rejoiced at the oath, for they had sworn with all their heart, and sought him with their whole desire, and he was found of them. And YehoVah gave them rest round about. And also concerning Maachah, the mother of Asa the king, he removed her from being queen, because she had made an idol in a grove, and Asa cut down her idol, and stamped it, and burned it at the brook Kidron.
I say this all because I want us to see how far down the road we have gone, and how corrupt we've really become. We think Christmas today is something that celebrates God, but it's not. Remember, when the Messiah comes, when God raises up a righteous king, all the world will be walking in these statutes and keeping the commandments once again, as I've mentioned before. But will you think that this guy is an antichrist because his name is not what you have been trusting in? Take a look.
Ezekiel 37:24, and David my servant shall be king over them, and they shall have one shepherd, and they shall walk in my judgments, and observe my statutes, and do them.
But sadly, because of the doctrines today that people trust in a man rather than obedience to God's laws, they'll think that this man is an antichrist of sorts. But make no mistake about it, when God's kingdom comes, and the kingdom is given to the saints, it's his house, his rules. We're going to be adhering to his laws. I say all this, and I do this video in addition to the one I just previously did, because I want us to see how far down we have come to where we would even call a person that is just as David does and keeps all God's laws and causes other people to do it. We would hate that man. This is exactly what's going on right now. God says he will raise up a righteous branch unto David, and this righteous branch are those that are keeping God's laws and keeping his commandments, and they've sought him with all their heart, their soul, and their mind, just as David did. And because of that, we're hated today because of it. This is what has been set up. We need to see that we have been falsely worshiping a man and disobeying God's laws. And what we need to do is come back to the truth and worship the God of Israel, the true God, hearken unto his commandments and his laws, as I always say on this channel. But I'm hoping that this decree of Asa will open our eyes to see if Asa gave this decree today, how many of us would even heed to it? We have to just do what David said, and that is, with my whole heart have I sought thee. Let me not wander from thy commandments. That's Psalm 119, verse 10. Remember, if that day comes and this type of decree does come up, judge the person by his message. Does he tell you to keep the commandments? Does he tell you to worship the God of Israel? Does he come in the name of the God of Israel? Because remember, as the Psalm says in Psalm 118, blessed is he that comes in the name of YehoVah. If he comes in his name and tells you to keep God's laws, why hate him? I just wanted to make this video, and I hope we grasp this truth and we just take hold of the message being given. We just need to return and seek YehoVah with all our heart, our soul, and our mind, and he'll be found of us. And he will end all the destruction and all the things that we see in this world. We'll have peace on earth once again. But if we don't hearken to it, sad days are coming. So I thank you for watching. I'll see you again on another video.